Hello, everyone, and welcome to Our Special Lives. I'm Laura McGrath, and today we are talking about medical supplies, how to get organized, and how to make sure that every medical supply order is done correctly and your child gets what they need. And don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share. Our son needs a lot of medical supplies, and when he first got his feeding tube and then eventually a tracheostomy, the amount of medical supplies that were coming into the house were so overwhelming. And I came up with a system to keep track of them, and I'm going to share that with you today in case it's helpful. I think whenever people are using a medical supply company for their child, the assumption is that all the medical supplies are just going to show up on time and completely at your front door. And while I absolutely love our medical supply company, it doesn't always work that way. There are back orders, people forget things and leave things off, and sometimes you can get in a really bad situation where you're missing a really critical supply that you've run out of. So today, I'm going to show you how we keep things organized. I'm going to share with you my tracker for keeping track of our medical supplies and kind of show you my system for how we get this done. Okay, so now you can see our supply order. This is our monthly supply order, and I've got my son's name in the upper left-hand corner, and there are several columns going from left to right. The first column is the order number. And that's where I put the name of the technical name of the supply. So for example, his feeding tube, the order number is ENTR 365. Then I do a supply description, which is a feeding button AMT Mini 1 balloon. And then I do the supply nickname. What do we call it? We call it his spare balloon button. The quantity goes in the next column, and the quantity that we are approved for goes in the next column. And then the last column is the quantity that we need for that particular month. So for example, looking at the next line where you see ENTR 201, those are feral bags. Those are something that's used to vent air out of the stomach. And technically we are allowed to have 30 of those each month, but my son doesn't really use those. So even though they're approved, I've got a 0 in for that supply. So this is what I've done for each medical supply. I've just listed the order number, the supply description, the supply nickname, the quantity we're approved for, and for the particular month, for the current month, how many we want. The first thing I do when I am ordering medical supplies for the month is I go to the place in the home where we keep the medical supplies, and I have another video that's linked to the shoe organizers that I use to keep all the medical supplies organized. And I just take a look at what we need, and sometimes there's a supply that we may not be using as much, and maybe I don't need to order any of those for the particular month. So just similar to the spare balloon button, I may not need a particular supply, so I'm going to put a 0 there for that month. So I go through, I figure out what we need, what we don't need, and then I start making my supply order for the month. If there's something we don't need and it's got a 0, what I tend to do is select that line and I highlight it in red. That way, the person who manages the medical supplies at the medical supply company knows that we don't need any of those, and she can just focus on the unhighlighted rows. If there's a new supply that my son has just been ordered from a doctor, what I will do is come over to my spreadsheet. I will insert a row right here, and I will put in the name of the supply, the nickname, and the quantity. And what I'll do then is highlight it in yellow as opposed to red to let the medical supply company know that it's a new supply and just to be on the lookout for it. This way we can avoid missed supplies that have just been ordered. And that's about it. That's how I do it. And then once I finish this and send it to the supply company, I print out a copy of this. Okay, this next part is really important. You have to print out a copy of the supply order that you've just sent in to the medical supply company. And when the medical supply order shipment comes, you have to go through, figure out what's come in, and check those things off the list. This is going to very quickly tell you if medical supplies are missing. For example, last month, we had 2 critical medical supplies missing from the order, and I was able to circle back to the medical supply company. They were able to trace those supplies and tell me why they had not come in. So that's a really critical step, making the checklist. Now I'm going to try to post the spreadsheet that I use, or a template of one, in the notes to this video. But if I can't do that for some reason, I'll post it on my website and you can grab it there. But it's really not too hard to make one yourself. And you can use Word or Excel, whatever works for you. It's just important to come up with your own system to track things. So I hope this video has been helpful to you to help you organize your system for medical supplies. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share. And if you'd like to hear any different topics and things we've discussed before, please don't hesitate to leave us a comment or drop us a line at ourspeciallives.com. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks.